My name's Adam Salaga. I played in Disciple, I played in Jesus Wept, and I currently play in Human Animal. I think it was right about 1992, a friend of mine sold me the second Only the Strong comp that Victor put out, and Something to Prove was on it, and he said, check out my friend's band, it's really cool. And I liked it, and then about a year later, he was like, hey, there's a show going on with this new band from these guys from Something to Prove called Brothers Keeper, going on at this bar called Shooters, come on out. So I went out, told my mom I was just going out with some friends, because she wouldn't let me go to a bar when I was 14 years old, you know what I mean? But yeah, it was crazy, and then I go, and it's just, all these kids are just raging the entire time. And the coolest music of all time, everyone just completely into it, and I was sold. I was sold from that moment on. Oh gosh. Slowpoke out of Pittsburgh. Brothers Keeper was just starting in Erie. I think Overcast was around from Philly at that point, but maybe just starting up. Stark Weather. And those are bands that I got into a little bit later because I wasn't exposed to a whole lot of it, a whole lot of the more underground stuff, other than Victory bands or Erie bands for a while. Erie clubs would have been Shooters, the Boys and Girls Club, Continental Ballroom. At that time, those were the three.
Hey.
My first couple of shows, I remember going and being scared because there were just nothing but skinheads. Yeah. Abnegation was playing. I think the first show that I went to, and they were supposed to play, but a bunch of skinheads were threatening to beat them up, so they didn't play the show. And then I just remember, just within even a year of me starting to go to shows, you know, they moved to the Boys and Girls Club, and every time I went to a show, the attendance doubled every single time. So it was, you know, 50 the first time. The next show I went to was 100, then it was 200, and all of a sudden, within a couple of years, we were 400 or 500 kids at every show.
As far as Pittsburgh, did you go to shows out there too?
I didn't really go to shows out there until I started playing shows. No, I don't remember, and I was young at that point too, so I didn't have a lot of
From
friends.
the times you were out there, what could you say about Pittsburgh?
From what I remember about Pittsburgh is that I don't know that there was a whole lot of bands that were coming out of Pittsburgh, but it was a hub for a bunch of national bands to come in. So every national band would come in, and then they would kind of pull from all the cities around, and that would kind of be their local scene. Just, you know, we would play, or bands from Philly would come out and play, bands from Cleveland would come out and play. Well, it started off in Never Fall, and I was in that, gosh, 94 through 96, something like that. And we played a couple shows, started to get a decent following around Erie, and at that point, the drummer for Disciple quit, and they had approached me to come play drums for him. And it was my favorite band at the time, so I was like, yeah, I'll come play drums. So I left Never Fall, went to Disciple. Was in Disciple from 96 through 2004. We played thousands of shows, toured around the country a bunch, got to tour Europe, which was awesome. So yeah, that was 8 years eight of the best years of my life. Just traveling around with all of my friends, jumping in a van, going around, jumping on planes, going around. We would play anywhere and everywhere that we could for a period of about 4 or 5 years, until everyone started to get families and stuff and had to stop. We had to stop running around as much as we did. But we still tried to do it whenever we could. And after that ended, you know, it just kind of ran its course, and we wanted to go in a little bit different direction and start to write some different songs. So we had the last Disciple show in, I want to say, May of 2004, and then the first Jesus Wept show was in like June of 2004. And it kind of picked up where Disciple left off. We couldn't travel around as much as we did with that, but we still managed to get a couple of tours under our belt and put out a couple of records. Initially, that was the same lineup as the last lineup of Disciple, but that evolved over time too. Some people had to leave, and then we had to get some new guys in there. Brothers Keeper's huge. Brothers Keeper kind of put Erie on the map. They're the first band that everyone thinks of when they think of Erie hardcore. They were the ones that, you know, toured. They toured the world. They toured 4, 5, 6 months out of the year. They played and put on the biggest shows that Erie had. Everyone went to them. Everyone had a good time at them. They were friends with everyone. Everyone knows Mike Ski. Everyone knows EMS. Everyone knows all those guys. EMS is the owner of Assassins Tattoos in Erie. He ran Surprise Attack Records, which was just an indie record label. Put out a lot of local bands from either Erie or local bands from where he came from. Eventually expanded out into doing some other stuff too. But he got a lot of bands started and going in the right direction. Just a giant sense of community. I think it's the most prideful. I think it's the most prideful state as far as hardcore, and you can hear it, you can see it. And so, like Wisdom and Chain says, the land of kings or whatever. And I was at a Shockwave show one time, and they played that song, and Shockwave was huge and the biggest pylon at the entire show with 800 kids. Probably half the kids were jumping on each other, singing along at the end of it. It was awesome.
Speaking of Shockwave, you've seen that band a few times, huh?
Yeah.
Have any stories about them?
They're crazy. They're crazy dudes. You don't see them much because they're not around a whole lot. But you're traveling around, people would always ask us questions about them. Tell us that they heard rumors that they just sat in their front yard, lifted weights, and listened to gangster rap. We were like, yeah, maybe. We don't really know. We don't know a whole lot about them. Generally, the communication was very sparse. They would get a hold of us if they needed shows set up or whatever. I don't know that the state didn't get enough credit. I think we were always pretty respected, but with all that going on, a lot of the spotlight is coming towards Pennsylvania, which is awesome.